Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today we're going back through our look at all the characters in Pokkén Tournament, and today we've got Chandelure, and spoiler alert, I love me some Chandelure. Now, usually I go into the Red League or one of the lower leagues when I'm testing out a new character. I've only done a few games. Let's go into one of the lower leagues, take it easy. Well, I'm in the Chroma League with Chandelure, and I've only done 9 bloomin' battles. I've been struggling a bit in the Chroma League with Machamp and Garchomp. Well, don't get me wrong, I've been winning. I've been winning at least 4 out of 5 and going up, but it's been a little bit of a struggle. I've been finding it difficult. So the thing about Chandelure, he uses ranged attacks. And you can see there he's got ranged attacks that work in field and in duel. Now there's a Will-O-Wisp. If you hit with that, you put your opponent's attack down. You can see that by the blue fist next to Charizard's health bar. You can also see that if you let your opponent get in close, it does not end well. But Chandelure's got that awesome overheat attack you just saw. It does a whole bunch of damage. Now it puts your speed and it puts your attack down, so you've got to be very, very careful. So I'm in round 2. My cheer skill has put Reshiram up to the top. He's got a full bar there, so I'm doing a few more attacks. I'm keeping away from him, and then when the time is right, I call in Reshiram, and off we go. You'll also notice that Chandelure, his synergy, his burst gauge, fills up very quickly. So I hit with an overheat there, do a whole bunch of damage, and then am I going to hit with my synergy attack? No, I'm not, unfortunately. My burst attack does not hit. But I can still keep away. Now you see that I've got those negative statuses. Both speed and attack are lower. You can see the fist and the guy running next to my health bar. This is one of the reasons I like Cresselia when I'm playing a Chandelure. Usually I just use Cresselia because I want to use Reshiram. But here, I can actually use Cresselia to take away those negative statuses. So, I'm in a little bit of trouble there. Charizard Mega Revolves, but I hit with a counter attack, and life is good. It's a 2-0 victory for Chandelure. Now, in this particular video, I'm trying not to overly rely on projectiles. Firstly, to try and make it a more interesting video. And secondly, because if I overly rely on projectiles, that means that I'm going to end up in a silly situation where as soon as I come across an opponent who's really good at avoiding those projectiles, I'm going to lose straight away. Although, let's be clear about this, the strength of Chandelure is in his projectiles. When you let your opponent get too close to Chandelure, it goes wrong. So I'm going with Cresselia Reshiram round 1. I'm going to use Cresselia to heal my negative statuses after that really quite powerful overheat attack. If you use overheat with a negative status, it does not end well for you. It does very little damage. But then I've got Reshiram for round 2, and if I lose, round 3 as well. So, I'm starting off again, I'm going round in circles. Chandelure's got nice range on those attacks from left to right, and then you hit with a beam, and I hit with a beam again. Now, you've got to be careful letting him get in too close, but if he gets in too close, look how powerful that overheat attack is. Now I hit with a ranged projectile attack, and I've actually built up my synergy gauge. When you put points onto particular either attack and defense and all of that synergy, so that Cresselia will actually charge a little bit quicker, so I can use Overrun again. Although I use Overrun again and it gets blocked. I say Overrun, I mean Overheat. And now I'm letting him get too close. So let's just hit with a counter attack. One of the weaknesses of Chandelure is that when your opponent gets in close and starts actually punching him in the face, or what approximation of a face he actually has, his HP goes down quite quickly. So counterattacks for that I found to be very useful. That and of course overheat, which is beautiful. So there is a Will-O-Wisp. I'm trying to hit with a Will-O-Wisp to try and get his attack down. I've not hit with it yet, but I do get to hit him very full on with a Reshiram, and Reshiram actually puts his attack down in the same way that Will-O-Wisp does. So we both get our synergy burst going, and I hit with a burst attack, and it looks fairly sinister. Chandelure's burst attack does actually look pretty gosh darn sinister. But hey ho, it doesn't actually do anywhere near as much damage. It doesn't do the damage that Machamp or Garchomp do, although my Chandelure is at a much lower level than those Pokemon, so maybe that's the reason why. So I do get a couple of ordinary attacks in, would you believe it, and then one quick hit, and I actually get a perfect. Now that's not like I say that Chandelure, it's not that you shouldn't go in and try and hit with ordinary attacks, it's that you've got to be very careful. If you end up, now when I'm playing as Machamp and Garchomp, I don't mind getting in close and getting into a punching competition. It often ends very well. Now Chandelure is a power character, but it's still not the kind of character you want to get into a punching competition. Chandelure is about keeping away and using projectile attacks, and then when you get in close, maybe counter attacks, maybe that overheat, and of course your synergy burst, because why would you not? Now Braixen again, pretty excited apparently. Need to be careful. Braixen is all about the combos. We're going to play with Braixen in a little bit. Get some of these combos going. So we're going to start off with Cresselia so that I can get an overheat and then heal those negative statuses with Cresselia. So straight away I've got that ranged attack and it goes quite well. And then I hit with a Hex. Well, this not unlike Sceptile's Giga Drain. There's a Smog. A couple of Smogs, in fact. And I try and Incinerate, but it doesn't go as well as it could, unfortunately. Hey-ho, these things happen. It wasn't an Incinerate, it was a Flame Burst. I do apologise. And again, if you miss with that overheat, then you get the negative statuses, but you don't do the big damage, which is a slight shame. But I call in Cresselia, I get a bit of health back, and those negative statuses go away, which is good. Now, Chandelure's also got in Field Phase. If your opponent gets too close and you can time it correctly, you've got that really good attack. But I finish off with an Overheat. It's a really, really nice attack. But you can see that when you let Braixen get in too close, does a whole bunch of damage. So now I've got my Reshiram. That should be a nice bit of free damage at some point. So I get her straight away. Oh, and am I going to hit with Reshiram? Is she jumping too much? No, I do a nice amount of damage there, and then I immediately do my Synergy Burst, and then my Burst attack does hit. Wonderful. Now, you'll notice at the end of round 1, my Burst gauge was full. I didn't want to use it then. I like saving it for round 2. If I'm going to win round 1, I like to save my Burst for round 2, but it depends how round 1 and 2 are going, of course. And I get another perfect, and I tend to get perfects more often with Chandelure. At times it almost feels like cheating. I feel like I'm playing the game wrong. But then I found when playing the Chroma League with characters like Garchomp and Machamp, it can sometimes be incredibly frustrating because of the attack triangle and because of the fact that your computer knows what you're doing. So you try a grab, they hit you with a normal attack. You try a normal attack, they hit you with a counter attack. You try a counter attack, they hit you with a grab, and so on and so forth. It can get very frustrating. So with Chandelure, when you get to stand back a bit, works. Now I started talking about that Hex attack. Like Sceptile's Giga Drain, you've got to time it correctly. They've got to be the right distance away from you. But it's a nice attack in Dual Phase, which is where Chandelure is less comfortable. It's a nice attack in Dual Phase that again requires you to not be too close to them. So we start off again with Cresselia. She's going to charge quite fast because I've been putting some of those skill points into my support. I am going to be able to get Cresselia going a bit faster. Now I'm keeping Machamp away, and part of the reason I'm keeping him away more than I would maybe another Pokemon, I really don't want Machamp to get close. Now I hit with a Will-O-Wisp and his attack goes down, but he gets a block on the first Hex, not the second Hex, and this is going quite nicely. And he hits me with a counter attack, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hits me into the air, gets me with another counter attack. Look, he's just got half, with that one little sequence, half of my health bar goes down. I can't afford that. If Machamp gets in close twice, I'll lose the game. It's as simple as that. So you've got to beat Machamp with those projectiles, or you will lose. It's gonna happen. Now, when I play as Chandelure, I much prefer being in Field Phase, which is weird. I'm a Dual Phase fan with Garchomp and Machamp. Field Phase is where it is at for Chandelure. This is a risky Reshiram, but I get the hit, so that's alright. And I don't really need a Will-O-Wisp because I already hit him with Reshiram, and Reshiram lowers his attack in the same way that Will-O-Wisp would. but I get my Synergy Burst, I do my Burst Attack. The weird thing about Chandelure's Burst Attack, it's pretty easy to hit them with, as long as they don't jump over it and they're not too far away. So we try a couple of Flame Bursts there. It's a nice little ranged attack to use as a bit of a change, and I get him with a Hex. Is this going to be enough? Not quite. Can I hit with a ranged attack? No, but I can hit with another Hex, and that now will be enough to take him down, and it's a perfect. And you see the difference between those two fights against Machamp. In the first one, I let him get in close, he took down half my health bar in one go. In the second one, I stayed away from him, I used my range attacks, I used Flame Burst, I used Hex. He never even got close enough for me to do an overheat. And I feel mean, but unfortunately this is the way you kind of have to play with Chandelure. And I've heard from other players that Machamp is one of the hardest matchups when you're playing as Chandelure, because it's so easy for them to just destroy your health bar when they get in close, that it really is, if you don't keep them away and properly keep them away, it just does not end very well for you at all. So we got one more fight against Pikachu Libre to finish off this video. We've already beaten Pikachu once, can we beat him again? Now, I like my odds, because when I'm playing as Chandelure, I like being in this arena. This is the arena, you really feel at home in this arena. Although the Pumpkaboo carved pumpkins, along with the Chandelure, do give me weird Night March dreams, which I'm not happy with. So he gets close, and that's when you want to hit with that overrun. Now I do a couple of Will-O-Wisp, and I hit with one, and I get his attack down. I hit him with a Flame Burst, and then I call in Cresselia. I've waited just long enough to call Cresselia in. She heals my negative statuses, and now I can hit with another Flame Burst, which I do, and it doesn't quite end the fight, but from here, I just need a few ranged attacks, and that's going to be enough to finish out the game. Once again, I've got a full burst gauge, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to save it for round 2. And if I can win round 1, and if I've got a fully charged Reshiram and a full burst gauge ready to go in round 2, after winning round 1, I'm generally feeling pretty good, because I can call in Reshiram, hit with Reshiram, I can then use my Synergy Burst and then do my Burst Attack. Oh, but Pikachu Libre uses his Synergy Burst as well, and he blocks my Overheat, and now he starts attacking. Am I going to hit with my Burst Attack here? Yes, I am. Now, it doesn't do the phenomenal damage Garchomps and Machamps do, unfortunately, but it still does a fair amount of damage. It's still very much worth having. Now, I find that Chandelure does build up his burst gauge a bit quicker, and one of the reasons is, every time you throw a projectile, you get a little bit of your burst gauge. And with Chandelure, you want to be throwing projectiles. He's good with his projectile attacks. So I'm close to taking this Pikachu down. I pop it down into field phase. I try a little bit of a Flame Burst. I try a Will-O-Wisp. So I am at least mixing up my ranged attacks. But in the end, an ordinary ranged attack is all it needs to take Pikachu down. Now, I am enjoying playing as Chandelure far more than I am enjoying playing against. Now, I like Garchomp and Machamp, I've made no secret of that. Sceptile was alright for a while, Charizard I wasn't a huge fan of, Gengar I wasn't a huge fan of. I will, of course, when I've done all of these videos, I'll rank all the characters as a personal how much I like them. But here's the thing about Chandelure. Whereas I was in the Chroma League with Garchomp and Machamp and I was winning, but I was finding it difficult, I was winning games 2-1, I was losing kind of 1 out of the 5 battles. As Chandelure, I got a few perfects, and I won every round, and I won every match 2-0. So, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Click that like button, I'll give you a second. And if you haven't liked it by now, you must just hate me on a personal level. Make sure you subscribe, and if you've already subscribed, get a friend subscribe on your behalf, and comment if you've got anything to say about Pokkén or Chandelure. Most importantly, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.